Welcome back to the Sungran channel. I'm Jerrel from Sungran, developer of the Silver Falls game series. I hope you enjoyed the previous two episodes while we painted our handsome stag. If you have a look here, we can see that we've added quite a fair bit of detail and texture. No more of the base color is visible behind our nice hand-drawn texture just there. We flattened all of our layers, and what we are going to do now is select the outside, which is quite easy on this image. I will select, I will modify, and I will expand that by 1 pixel, and I'm going to hit the delete key. I'm going to select the entire image and copy that. And we'll move over to our signage, which we are creating for Silver Falls. Let's go ahead and paste that in there and have a look at magic happen. Wonderful. Go ahead and shrink this down just a little bit. You can see I've got a placeholder just there to help me line up where I want to put this fella. Shrink that down just a little bit more, but I always have the base image if I would like to use a larger version of the image and not lose any quality. Our artwork here is nice and detailed, but I think that should do the trick just there. Now we seem to have pasted that in probably not the right spot. We can go ahead and just drag it over to our graphics. We can hide our placeholder image. I'll just put a name on that. Painted Stag. Not too bad. Now the colors here, they are temporary placeholder colors which came from another product. Ideally, I would like to stick to the color scheme which is presented here, so it would be nice if the most background color matched the tonality of the background of this guy here. Go ahead and darken that. We want to match the tonality, so we don't want to be too different from that. There we go. Let's see how that looks. Let's go ahead and copy our gold, which is in that image as well. Let's see here. Click on our vector shape here. You can see we're now starting to simulate the gold. A very pale gold, isn't it? I want the tonality to make sense. I think that might do the trick. Now, let's have a look at this shape here. What is the shape here? Let's go ahead and select that color. Right, so what we want to do now, copy that color and double click our vector shape here. You can see that they are now sharing the same color. Let's go ahead and hide our mask filter for now. Auto select. Let's see what this is here. Right. You can see we have a drop shadow on that. Alright, so in terms of color, starting to come together, but I feel like this yellow here is quite a bit too overpowering. What can we do about that? Now, it's best to draw from the colors that are available to us. We don't want to create an overwhelming color palette. It might be best to go with something soft like the green that we have here. Now, unfortunately, this green does not work well because it occupies a very similar uh, tonal value to this blue, which means we're either going to have to go darker or lighter. Now in this case, I would like the green to come farther forward, which means that it would be better to put the blue farther back. So we'll bring the green forward just a little bit, but not so far forward that it distracts from this image here, our main focus. Okay. I'd say that's not too bad. Now, let's go ahead and bring this a little bit farther back now. Now, this current project is a little bit slapdash and a little bit disorganized as it's been copied from one project to another project to another project. So uh, it's a long line of projects that have been worked on. Now, just eyeballing this, I don't feel that this is working in terms of color because now this gold trim here stands out just a little bit too much. So that's something that's also going to need a little bit of work as well. So let's go ahead and bring that down just a little bit. Not to the reds, just a little. Now, just eyeballing this, I think we may have to make this back area brown to match this wood here, as now this is clashing in terms of my eyes. It's not quite right. So this is something that may take a um, bit more planning in terms of color. Let's see how it looks if we swap that. I think that's a lot easier on the eyes to look at. So we may have to swap around the identity of some of our colors here. Let's go ahead and select some tones that we have here, and I feel like this makes my eyeballs feel quite a bit better now. That's not too bad. Hmm. Hmm. Too bad. Quite like that. So, our tonality here, we have our what tone represents our wood. We have the sort of gold trim, which represents this, and this blue, which represents this sky here. Now, it might be nice to just sort of experiment a little bit. It's okay to experiment a little bit with our tonality, and you can see that seems quite nice, doesn't it? I quite like this dual tone with the darker blue moving into the somewhat lighter blue. Now, I don't want to go too light because now it tends to drown out our image just a little bit. How about this? Double click that, go back to our drop shadow now, and we'll actually make that a little bit darker. I quite like that dual tone. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and pick a name for our new Stag. How about that? This is going to be a fictional beer which exists in the world of Silver Falls. This is going to be a beer that characters can order in Silver Falls. It may even be an item in upcoming games in Silver Falls, which I think would be quite fun. I may go through this and hand paint to give it a bit of texture, but let's just for now give a nice, easy gradient overlay. Go ahead and make the opacity not overly intense. Our name should stand out. Our drop shadow should have the same intensity of the line that we can find just here. Let's sample that and see how it looks. Okay, we've hit a pure black pixel, which generally isn't very good. Let's go ahead and manually pick a nice, heavy brown, which lets us maintain a degree of texture and color. All right, I feel that might be a little bit too bright. Just eyeballing it. Let's go ahead and intensify the darkness on that just a little bit. And I would like to do some experimentation in terms of spacing on this, as it just seems to be a little bit too cramped. Let's try this. You can see that that separates our letters quite a bit. And overall, we'd like to reduce the overall width so we can make sure everything stands out on its own. That may need quite a fair bit more work to get it to look right. Whether, Pardon me? Oh, heavens. You may need to do that again. So, we'll Control Alt. Let's go ahead and stretch that out. Give it a little bit of space again. Reduce the width on that. It may be that we change the font entirely. It is going to take a fair bit of work to get this to look quite right. But let's go ahead and fiddle around for a little bit just to see if we can get it to look the way we would like. Make sure our tonal values don't clash and that we don't make our important parts of our images get lost in the detail. For starters, I can see this already stands out too much. Let's go ahead and pick a nice light color. Let's go ahead and pick this one right here. Quite like that. I think maybe, there we go. That doesn't look too bad now, does it? Still, this font is a little bit hard to read, isn't it? Let's go ahead and cycle through some fonts and see if we can find something just a little bit better. Now, this is one thing about Photoshop I don't exactly like at all. You'll have to highlight these letters while you are changing the font, which unfortunately means that you can't really get a good look at how it will look, which means you will rely on your navigator to give you an idea of how it will look. Because of the stretching and squashing that I've done, it won't necessarily look quite right. I do like this font just here. Go ahead and make this capitalized just to see. Something bold that looks quite old-fashioned would be nice, wouldn't it? Something that stands out and says, yes, this is a handsome stag. But it will need to be quite bold, won't it? Ah, we've hit the bottom of our list. I quite possibly prefer this font to the other one. Let's go ahead and fix some of that stretching. Let's see how it looks. Yes, I actually quite prefer this one. Let's see what happens when we give ourselves just a little bit more spacing. We might have a little bit too much drop shadow. Now, it is throwing off the balance of the overall image, isn't it? Yes. Just eyeballing it, I quite like how that looks. Let's go ahead. Bring that down now. Just looking at this, I would, in general, like to have an equal amount of space. As these, I can see this is already uneven. This is larger vertically than this is, which is not what I'm a fan of. I'm not quite happy with that. But in general, I would like that to be the same amount just there to give it visual balance. If not just an inch, oh, not an inch, a hair more. You'll leave that branding there. There we go. I'm quite happy with the overall image. I will come back to that and do a little bit more work on that later on, but let's go ahead and put our overall texture filter on top of that. Move that around until I think it's not so distracting. And there you go. What do you guys think of that? So, this will be a sign that we can hang in the various locations in the Silver Falls games. And we will also format this image so we can put that on labels, on bottles, which will be props in the Silver Falls games. So I've had quite a bit of fun and I've enjoyed sharing this experience with you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. So, if you enjoyed that, please feel free to like the subscribe button. Check in next time where we will work on more art. And if you are into fun stories, UFOs in a small mountain town, and people that are trying to live their lives despite weird alien stuff going on, please feel free to check out the Silver Falls game series. Head to silverfallsgame.com. There's a novel which you can read for free. We have chapters that are launched every week. There are 2 free games that you can play currently, with another free game coming out soon. We have a number of games on Nintendo consoles. Our latest one would be Episode Prelude on Nintendo Switch, with Campfire Stories coming very soon. So, thanks very much for joining me today, and I hope you will check in again very soon. Hi there. Checking in just one more time to share the final product for our Handsome Stag beer from the Millstash Company. So I put in a fair bit more adjustment work into this, taking a step back, eyeballing things, looking at the tonality of the various colors in the scene, what was distracting, what was taking away from the focus. The main important parts of our composition would be the name Handsome Stag, which is the brand, and our brand identity here, which is our nice handsome stag just here. We removed the bright gold bar along the top and the bottom of this center line here, and we have made our brand logo larger, and it now stands outside of that whole center line here, which helps it have a lot more prominence. We also changed the background to a green, but it is a cold green, which falls into the back, but it is mostly sampled from a color that we've picked from these green leaves here, so it still represents that sort of brand color as well. So I'm quite happy with this final product. We have a font that reads nice and clearly. We have a bit of flavor text up the top and bottom to fill out the image just a little bit. So I am quite happy with the end product. I'm glad that I can share this design journey with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed watching that. So, fantastic. I'll see you around.